This question from Articos02.
Facts.
How would you define the difference between assimilation and integration?
Oh, okay. Assimilate. I've heard, like, there's been a lot of people, especially in like Republican circles, talking about assimilation, right? In terms of like knowing how to speak the language, and like there's been a lot of like uproar about certain U.S. citizens that can't necessarily speak the language, and that really like irks conservatives and Republicans a lot, because then they're like, if you're gonna be here, you better at least learn how to speak the language and blah 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 blah. First off, there's never, like, on that point, there's been communities in this country since its inception that do not speak English as properly as possible. There's been German immigrants that come all in folds. There's been Irish immigrants that come. There's been Italian immigrants that come. Like, this has been a known thing. There's been Japanese, there's the Japanese internment camps. There's been like a lot of communities that have came a lot of different points in time where they were able to be contributing members of society, contribute not only meaningful things to this country, but like extremely important things to this country, and they haven't necessarily spoken the language perfectly. So that's on that. Assimilation is what they're asking for. Like, learn how to do everything the way that we're doing it, because this is what American culture is. So if you're going to be here, you better do everything that we do, right? That would be assimilation. And integration just means you get to like be here, right? You just get to integrate. Like you all of a sudden are here. You have an apartment. You're integrating. You're part of the economy. You're just here, right? It doesn't necessarily have like a cultural requirement to it. It's just part of what's happening, right? In terms of the assimilation point, though, like, it takes such a long time to figure out what culturally is important in a place, right? Not to mention, if you're an immigrant, chances are, like, legitimately, chances are that you're not gonna let go of the culture that you come from, right? And you shouldn't, because in a lot of ways, the culture that you come from might be a contributing factor to the culture that you build with the community that you're gonna be a part of should you come here, right? And if you don't like that, I'm here in Texas, and if that like irks you in some way, shape, or form, without what I just said, you would have no Tex-Mex restaurants, you would have no chips and queso, you would have no things that are clearly part of communities being influenced by many different cultures at the same time, and immigrants at that. So that's ridiculous. Second point in the assimilation thing, and why it doesn't make any sense for people to require that, is the culture in Houston, Texas is vastly different than the culture of Austin, Texas, is vastly different than the culture of LA, is vastly different than Chicago, vastly different than rural Arkansas, vastly different than Seattle, completely different than New York, night and day difference from Miami. Like, all of those places have such different cultures, and they're all deeply American. So how you ask one immigrant to all of a sudden become American culture when there is not one solidified, homogeneous American culture at large for the country is just ridiculous. It's stupid. It's just a very poor excuse of people looking at you and saying, like, you don't know how to speak my language, go back to where you come from. And all they're doing is saying that they just don't like the fact that you look the way you look. I mean, it's just facts. There is not one American culture. And if you look at all the great things about American culture, they're all from other places anyway. The food, most of the food, if it's not classic, like from a specific region, like Tex-Mex or Mexican food or Italian food or Little Italy or Chinatown or whatever, like, most of the food is from other places. Like hamburgers is Hamburg, Germany. French fries, need I not say more. Like pizza, come on, dog. Like, most of American culture is all like borrowed and grabbed from somewhere else. So that the entire assimilation bit is ridiculous. Immigrants make America better because they've influenced culture in every single way, from pop culture to sports culture to communities to overall demographic, music, like everything. So it's just a ridiculous point.
Assimilation is an individual who adopts the mannerisms and the culture of the society in which we come. Integration is just being part of society or the economy. It's not necessarily adopting every characteristic of that society. There's a lot of complaint in 2025 that immigrants don't assimilate. This is simply not true. If
Correct.
You're looking for immigrants the day they get here to start having barbecue in their backyard with hot dogs and hamburgers and abandon their culture that they grew up.
Bro, I saw somebody, Torchy's has barbacoa tacos. barbacoa isn't even like from Texas. It's not even like from here. Like it's from Mexico, and we fucking cook the barbacoa in a pit underground. Like, don't play me, dog.
With and live with for a big part of their lives, you would be going against the entire cultural history of the United States.
Facts.
And it's not like you come to America and are sworn in as a citizen and we say, hey, here's all these classes to teach you to be American. Immigrants come to America and they integrate into our economy through jobs. They integrate into our schools through their kids or through their own education. But assimilation takes time. Sometimes it takes a generation. And if you want to help people, start a class in your area to teach them English. Start a culture class. Do things to help them assimilate. I remember as a child in the 1960s going with my grandparents to German social halls where individuals only spoke German, played German music, had German food. Those social halls do not exist today. Assimilation. What an F1 visa is and can it be revoked? Well, we just saw a mass revocation by the Trump administration in March and April of this year of a number of F1 visa holders actively studying the United States. The Trump administration ran all 1.4 million students who are here in the United States through the NCIC to see if they'd ever been arrested for anything. And approximately 6,000.
But you know what the crazy part about that is, though? You can be arrested for anything, but it doesn't mean you committed a crime. It just means that they held you. It means that they processed you. It doesn't mean that you're actually guilty of anything. You can get arrested for like being mistaken for somebody and you'll still get processed, but you're going to have your day in court. They're going to realize that you didn't do anything. You're going to get your case dismissed. They're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for all the inconvenience. It doesn't actually mean you're guilty of anything. You don't have a conviction of anything.
Fingerprint hits came back. The Trump administration sent out notices. Hey, we're revoking your visa because you showed up in the hit. The problem was, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the police do arrest innocent people. And the vast majority of these individuals had no convictions and thus no legitimate basis to have their visas revoked. Lawyers in more than 200 lawsuits around the country in April, including myself and our firm, were able to reinstate these students and get their status put back into place. We are now litigating the actual visa revocation in federal court in Washington, D.C. for these students. Visas can also be revoked if you are convicted of a crime, if you get bad grades, if you take too few classes. All those are reasons to revoke a student visa in the United States. This question from Buddha Bing. What were the main reasons for the age of mass migration from 1850 to the mid-1900s?
Okay, hold up. 1850 to the mid-1900s mass migration. Mid-1900s. So the mid-1900s is easy one. The Industrial Revolution is like well underway. We've just finished the Depression. There's a lot of work that needs to get passed out. 1850 to 1900 though, that's like end of Civil War. I'm sure that's a contributing factor, and just the expansion out west in general, probably just like the over-industrialization, the infrastructure of the country that's starting to like really connect East Coast, like the coast to coast. That's my guess.
We can answer it with this chart. In 1850, we were coming up on the Civil War in the United States.
There you go.
At the time, there were approximately 2.4 million immigrants in the United States, 10% of the U.S. population. Starting in 1865, shortly after the Civil War, our population increased to more than 15% of immigration, doubling during that time frame in actual population. For the next 40 years, immigration continued at a very rapid pace. In 1924, our Congress passed laws that limited legal immigration to the United States from everywhere in the world other than Western Europe. What happened after 1924 up until 1965 is that the percentage of immigrants in America went down. There were no immigrants coming. And we went down to about 5%. But since 1965, with the passage of the Immigration Act and the restoration of worldwide immigration to the United States, our numbers of immigrant population has increased dramatically. While we have many more immigrants in America today than we did in 1860, we have many more people in the United States as well, such that today, the percentage of population is basically a little bit less than it was in 1860, even though we have many more immigrants in America. This next question is from Appropriate Debt 9. How were previous immigration peaks perceived at the time in the United States? People who lived in the United States as Americans in 1910 to 1924 had the same reaction as we're having today.
Correct.
An anti-immigration fervor because people
do not like change. And anytime anything, it doesn't even have to be about immigration. Anytime anything gets disrupted and it creates a level of uncertainty, people are going to freak out. That's just normal.
Generally afraid of things that are new. And when they see signs in Chinese going up or people in school speaking Spanish to their kids, they get afraid of that. This is human nature, and it's something that America has typically overcome after a period of time. Hopefully, we've learned from...
The only difference now is that social media exacerbates it. So now there are a lot of people that are getting riled up online, and right-wingers are making a fuck ton of money because of it. Because social media algorithm promotes rage and extremism.
Our history, and we'll overcome that more quickly today. This question is from Chico Juanito 395. How do undocumented immigrants pay taxes? I would gladly hire undocumented, which by the way would be a crime.
It's illegal.
But everybody else pays taxes, so you're not getting away with not paying. If you have work authorization documents, that really isn't undocumented, right? Somebody explain like I'm 5. First of all,
they get a tax ID number.
Undocumented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes every.
But also, it's not even through work. They pay billions of dollars in taxes because they shop at the store and they have to get the sales tax. They get gas, and that's sales tax. They buy clothes here, so there's a sales tax. If they don't live and they live in a different state, there might be a different kinds of sales tax. They pay taxes. It's just not what everybody pays a certain amount of taxes, and immigrants pay some of it. But the taxes that get taken out of your paycheck, like in your W-2, those are completely different kinds of taxes. But there are taxes all over the place here
in the United States, not just through income tax, because they do pay income taxes with a tax ID number. These individuals do pay taxes as well on their food. They pay taxes on their rent. They pay property taxes. They pay taxes just like Americans do at every level of society. So undocumented immigrants are not getting away with not paying taxes. And finally, if somebody does have a work authorization document, that means they have the ability to work and have a social security number, and you can hire them and they will pay taxes. Our next question is from Donovan Weiss. What if we just stopped immigration for a year and saw what happened? See how things go, and then we can decide the right balance. Why would that be so terrible? Ask the guy in love with the British woman if he could just wait a couple years to bring her over. Ask the employer who wants to bring in the lead scientist on his project to create thousands of jobs for his company. Ask the family who wants to bring dad to the United States so they can take care of him as he enters Alzheimer's.
Right.
The reality is we need immigration, and we need it every year. We need to grow our country to remain competitive around the world. You cut that off, and it'll be like cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Also, and this is like a broader comment, we really need immigrants for a lot of different kinds of jobs to, like he said, remain competitive around the world, because there are some countries, i.e. China, that is incredibly productive, and they're well on their way to becoming a superpower, and the U.S. education system is ass sandwich. So if we don't promote the best of the best from everywhere else, i.e. immigrants regardless, then you're going to be looking at a country that slowly deteriorates because the people here won't have what it takes to continue to create the society that can remain a world superpower, which I'm sure, at least I hope, that our elected officials are constantly thinking about that, because we are running the risk of that in general. I would wager that if for some reason you had the opposite problem, which is like people don't want to come here, we're going to be in like really bad news. Anyway, it looks like that's the end of the video. It turns out I know more about immigration law-ish than I thought, which I guess it makes sense. But I was surprised. I always get surprised at these things because I'm like, I can't like sometimes I'll be thinking to myself like, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, but I'm like, I don't know, I didn't like look it up. But because you know what, like it actually makes me really happy, because it shows me that I have a lot of friends and I've made a lot of acquaintances that have been in a lot of different kinds of situations and that are all from all different parts of the world, and it's nice to know that I've retained a lot of that information. But anyway, that's the homie. he knows what he's talking about. If you found yourself learning something new, then please continue to watch him. If you are an immigrant out there, please don't feel devalued at all. And at any point in time in your experience here in the United States, this country was founded by immigrants and has been made better by immigrants every step of the way. So keep doing what you're doing. And until next time, Degenerates, please like, share, subscribe, come follow us. I'll probably do a lot more reactions soon. And we have a lot more stuff coming to you guys. It seems like we're working on movie reviews and some fun stuff because we we realized recently that we're kind of like, film hobbyists, and then we're gonna keep having our regular conversations, and we have some more conversations that that are in the works. So until then, see you guys later. Please just keep watching, or not, or just write a hateful comment. Till next time, see ya.